Hello, welcome to Retro Core, and today we're going to be taking a look at the NeoSD MVS edition. Yes, for those who don't know, this is a flash cartridge for the Neo Geo. This particular model is for the MVS, which means it's for the arcade system. There is an AES version, the home console version, which looks identical to this, and it does cost a little bit more. Currently these are on sale, but they are not cheap, they are still very expensive. I've put a link in the description below to the official store so you can check out the prices they're currently going for. Now, there are a few things I'd like to point out. Because these are so expensive, you'd expect them to be of super high quality. The thing is, they are kind of made on a small scale basis. I mean, they do make a lot of them, but it's not like they're making thousands and thousands of these things. So there are a few quality issues. Now, first of all, the plastic does seem a little bit rough around the edges and does feel a little bit cheap. Mine's got a couple of scuff marks on it as well. So there is that. Also, the Microsd card, when I slotted it in, didn't pop back out because it was fouling on the actual slot in the case. But, you know, that was something that could be solved pretty easily by just nudging it about a little bit. Another thing is you don't get any fancy box. It comes in a pretty non-descriptive, bog standard brown box. That's it. No fancy covers, no shock boxes, just a brown box. And you don't really get a fancy manual with it either. You just get a piece of paper with some basic getting you started instructions. So, if you're after something a bit more substantial, you might want to check out Stone Age Gamer, since they do it in a box, but I think they do cost more money as well. And they kind of rip you off on the Microsd card prices. Okay, now, something that's very important and should be pointed out, and I like to stress, this is not pointed out in the instructions that come with this thing. For those of us who are using an upright MVS system, you know, an MVS system where you put the cartridge in the top of it, you know, like a regular console. Well, you may be thinking that the label goes face forward, because that's what you'd expect, right? Now, in the manual, it does say to be very careful of how you insert the cartridge. And it does say, look for the arrow and line up with the arrow on your MVS machine. Well, yeah, official cartridges do have this arrow, but this thing has no arrows. So how are you meant to know which is the front or back? Obviously, you would think that this is the front. Well, yeah, if you've got a side slot loading MVS, that would be the front. It's slotted in like that. But if you've got a top loader, it actually has to go in this way. Yes, that's right, it goes in backwards. Yeah. I wish they would have mentioned that in the manual, because there's a strong chance you could put this into your machine and blow the cartridge by putting it in the wrong way. But not to worry, you can actually change the boards round inside of this casing. Now, as you see here, there is a sticker on the side, and if you remove this sticker, there's another SD card slot. Nice, so all we have to do is take the screws out of the back and flip the board over, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Now we have to be pretty careful because we don't want to damage the label up here. Okay, so here's the actual board, and as you can see, the SD card reader is on this side at the moment. So we're going to flip it like this. In fact, while we've got the board out, why not take a look at it on camera? Because I'm sure there's some people that want to see it. Yeah, lovely stuff. And the other side. And that way too. Okay, so I'm going to flip this round. So now our SD card should come out of that side. And let's get this back into the right place. Alright, it's a little bit fiddly. In we go. That top part in right. I hope so. Let's see if we can close this over. let's push down that sticker again, make sure it's nice and snug on the case. And there we have it. We've completely reversed the board inside, so that means we can now put this into a top loading MVS unit with the label facing forward, the way it should be. Let's give it a try. In goes the cartridge. Label facing forward as it should be. Let's press the power on. Will it work? TV takes a while to get used to the signal. Yes, it does. So let's take a look at the features a bit more up close by connecting it directly to the video capture card. And for those of you who don't like scan lines, I'm sorry, but I'm going to keep them switched on. So let's take a look at the menu system first. At the very top of the screen you can see it says Launch Current Game. Basically, that's the game which was last loaded into the flash memory. What happens is when you switch off the machine, it keeps that game stored. So you can leave the cartridge out of the machine for a long time, and next time you put it back into the machine, the game that you last loaded into the flash memory will still be there. And to load that game is pretty much instantaneous. So you just press the A button and, as you can see, the game comes on. Mine goes to the region BIOS, the Uni BIOS first. But yeah, there you go. Game is working, no problem. And this will act just like a standard Neo Geo cartridge. Nothing special at all. Now, for those of you with a Uni BIOS, you can still access the Uni BIOS features. As you can see, just like with a normal game. You can also reboot it, just like you would with a normal game. You can also get back to the actual flash cartridges menu system by holding down, as default, B, C and start. As you can see. Now that can be changed as well. As you can see, I've got the SD cartridge loaded up with ROMs, less than 3 GB used, and I think there's pretty much every single Neo Geo game on here. What I do like is you get the little title screen image at the bottom of the screen, as well as telling you the type of game it is, who the developer was, and what year it was made. Now if we press B, we can go into the options. Here you can see when you switch on the machine, you can boot straight to the menu, which is what I have it set as, or you can boot straight to the last loaded game. So whatever you loaded last into the flash memory, the game will boot straight into that when you press on the power. So you don't get any menus at all. It'll be just like using a real cartridge. Of course, if you boot into the game, you make sure you have the in-game triggers switched on. I have them as B, C and start to get back to this menu system. The reason I have it like that is because A, B, C and start actually takes you to the Uni BIOS. You can change these though, or turn them off altogether. Arcade mode, yes or no. Basically what that does is if you take out the SD card, it will never ever boot up this menu, so it will be just be like using a standard MVS cartridge in your machine. There'll be no way to get to this menu. Backup RAM save, it saves the game data, so high scores and so on, to the Microsd card. So you can have it continuously doing that, or when you change a game, or not at all. UI sound is typically what you'd expect it to be, just the sound effects when you move the cursor up and down the screen. And here you can see your BIOS version, which can be updated. Okay, now C option gives you some filters. So here we're looking at the action game filter, so only the action games are listed, which is pretty cool. We also got favorites, so you can favorite certain games. Okay, so we've got action game filters. Pressing D will take us to the beat 'em ups, then the sports, then driving, platformer, mahjong, shooter, quiz, and fighting, and puzzle, and other. Okay. Now you can put some favorites into here. Now you add games to the favorite list by selecting what game you want and pressing the D button. Okay, so that's added that to favorites. Okay, we'll put Breaker's Revenge in there as well. And pressing C again will take us to our favorite list. And as you can see, there are two of my favorite games listed there. You can remove these, of course. One thing you're probably all wondering is how long does it take to boot up a game? Well, let's check it out. Let's pick a game that's really big in size. Let's see, Art Fighting 3 is pretty big. Let's see how long it takes to load that up. So let's press A now. So first thing it's got to do is erase whatever is in the flash memory. So we won't count this as the loading part, since, you know, this varies depending on what game was loaded into memory last. Okay, now it's flashing and we've got the countdown counter in the corner of the screen there. It has taken a while, so I'll tell you what, while that's flashing, why don't I play a bit of music from a Neo Geo game. Okay, holy shit, that did take a long time, didn't it? But that is one of the bigger Neo Geo games out there. But you know, now that it's in the flash memory, it will remain there until I erase it. Doesn't matter if I switch the machine on or off, it will always be there. Okay, so we can start the game as normal, insert a coin, and yeah, off we go, playing Art Fighting 3. And as you can see, it functions just like the regular game would. No difference whatsoever. Absolutely perfect. So let's press B, C and start and go back to the NeoSD screen. Okay, now how about a lower size game? You know, a game that's not that big. Well, let's try NAM 1974, whatever it was bloody called. NAM 1975, sorry. This is a pretty small game. How long does this take to load? Let's check it out. But first we gotta erase. Oh, there we go. Okay. Nowhere near as long as Art of Fighting 3, as to be expected. Now you may be wondering what size of micro SD card you can use in this thing. Well, to be honest, you do not need a big card. Like I said, I've got I think it's 140 odd images on this micro SD card, and it only uses 2 point something gigabytes, less than 3 gigabytes. I am using a 4 gigabyte micro SD card. So, you know, that's easily big enough to put all your Neo Geo games on. If you want to know the limit, well, I believe up to 32 gigabyte SD cards will work in this, no problem. Anything more than that, I can't be sure about. One thing that you should be aware of is to make any game work on this cartridge, you have to reformat it using the special formatting tools, which are available from the Terra Onion website. If you can't get them from there, you can also grab them from Stone Age Gamer. I'll put a link in the description below. Now, one downside to that is I couldn't seem to get any of the homebrew games or any of the demos to work on this cartridge, because they don't seem to be catered for, with the reformatting software, which is a great shame. Now, whether that's going to be changed in an update or not, I don't know. I have to look into that. But I just thought I'd throw it out there, just in case you were thinking you could load up all the homebrews on this and check them out. So that is the NeoSD from Terra Onion. Maybe not the cheapest flash card out there, in fact, definitely not the cheapest flash card out there, but pretty much an essential to those of you who really want to get into your Neo Geo, but don't want to be forking out the high prices for the MVS cartridges, and even the more crazy high prices for the AES cartridges. Yes, loading the game into flash does take a while, but it depends on the type of game which you're loading. Personally, I think this is an excellent product, and I am very happy with my purchase.